Hi, this is Attila16 for the Your Game channel. This is the commentary for the mission 2 of Battlefield Bad Company 2, and the mission is called Cold War. In this mission, you end up in a modern kind of warfare, and you are part of a four-man squad. In this mission, your objective is to arrest Russian nationalist kind of terrorists, and you find out very quickly that the guy escaped in a chopper, so you cannot do as planned, and you end up fighting your way to an escape or something like that to figure out you cannot arrest him anyway. So instead, you and your team end up in this situation where you have to fight the entire enemy army alone. And to do so, you have a grenade launcher, which will be pretty much the most useful equipment you will have in this mission, since it's a very urban type environment where you have a lot of buildings and the enemies are coming out from everywhere and hiding behind walls. So you use the grenade launcher and you can blow up any walls and the enemies behind them. The level also contain a lot of exploding element like crate and barrel that explode when you shoot them. So this game contain a lot of that, and it will help you to blow your way into the enemy lines. So you need to keep your eyes open for red stuff, because in general that stuff can explode, and I think this game is really designed around that idea of explosion everywhere and smoke and effect and stuff like that, and that's really the focus of the gameplay of this game. As to how to behave generally in this level, you just need to advance carefully from cover to cover and shoot the enemies as they come, and you will advance in the level without much difficulty. I think this level is still a kind of tutorial, so it's very hard to actually die. You should not have much problem there. As long as you keep in mind that everything is destructible, you really won't have much trouble, and you should not hesitate to blow away if you don't find a way. But this is also true for your enemies. And while they don't really use the grenade launcher that much, they throw a couple of grenades, and sometimes they will use their grenade launcher, but mostly they will shoot at you, and you should not be too afraid of explosion around you. I think you should not restrain yourself at shooting at the enemies, because there is ammo everywhere. You can waste as much as you want, and there are those crates all around the place, and some crate in which you can choose different kit that you picked up during the campaign. So, for example, if you picked up a shotgun, it will be added to the inventory of those special crate have, and you can choose a two gun in the different kind of weapon you found on the battlefield. So there is very little restraint about the weapon you need to use, and there is no specialty you have in the single player, and the single player experience is pretty much an introduction to the weapons you will have to use in multiplayer, which is the main interest of the game. As for the AI, they are invincible, which I find a little disappointing. I think it would have been a lot of fun if you could actually revive them, like in multiplayer, where when somebody is down, you just revive him. I think that will have increased a little the role of your team and the emotional attachment you may have for them. Because right now you just don't care. They are helpful. Sometimes they kill enemies, but generally you nearly don't need them. And here you and your team just have to hold a little against a few infantry, but one tank. So you just have to survive a little while under the tank fire, which has a tendency to aim at you even if it doesn't see you. And the tank will blow up the walls of the buildings all around you, and that can be fun, but until you activate your binocular and call an airstrike on it, it won't be much of a challenge. And I think it's once again an introduction to the binocular, which can use to call mortar in multiplayer. And I think it just take 1 minute before you finally can call the airstrike, and you just have to point and click on the tank for the airstrike to come, and that's really not hard. Unlike the multiplayer, where to call a mortar, you actually have to stay a few seconds, lock on the target before the shell start to fall from the sky. And this lead you to have a nice F-18 strike, and with a spectacular result. And the game really deliver on that. I think it really looked cool, and I find a little disappointing that in multiplayer they did not put calling an airstrike capacity, because it would have been much cooler than mortar strike. And I think airstrike would have been a better idea than mortar, because with an airstrike they could have justified restraining the number of airstrike at the same time because of the airspace being used. A little like Call of Duty, where there is only a certain number of planes that can fly at the same time. And right now in the multiplayer, there is a lot of mortar spamming, and that's a little ugly sometimes. By the way, here I hope you did notice how the building fell apart and just collapsed on itself. That's very useful also in multiplayer. And some people just shoot the buildings until they collapse on the objective they must destroy. That can turn out to be a very effective and safe way to achieve objective in the mode rush. Here is the part where you will see how the AI is invincible. And in this short part, I will point out that the enemy AI actually use grenade and machine gun, and it's a very intense part. But once again, you just have to use the cover properly, and you should be fine. But be careful. And this part leads to another pursuit in a vehicle, like in the first level of the game. And in this one, you just need to use your grenade launcher and fire ahead of your enemies. And this is how I conclude my commentaries, since I'm out of time. And I hope you did enjoy. And feel free to comment. And if you know some trick, feel free to tell them.